Greetings, YouTube. Beautiful mind here. We have this question from College Algebra. It comes from section 1.1, question 59. Yeah, I think it's okay. So yeah, it comes from section 1.1, question 59. It says, answer the following question. Find the center and radius of the circle, and then find the x and y intercepts of the graph of the circle. Okay. So usually with something like this, let me start with a copy of the original, right? So we have this 2x, and let me make that a little bit thinner. So we have this 2x, you still behaving that way? There's 2x squared plus 2y squared plus 16y equals 0, right? So to get this one in the standard form of the equation of a circle, we have to use a technique called completing the square. First let's group our x terms together. I did this one. I couldn't find my video where I did this one already, so I'm just making another one. So the first thing would be to group our x's and group our y's, but the x's are already grouped together and the y's are already grouped. So then the next thing is, whenever we do completing the square, the first goal is to make the leading coefficient a 1, right? So we're really doing completing the square twice. It's probably a good idea to do a Google search or a YouTube search on how to complete the square, and people take that topic and go specifically the different scenarios that you'll come across. I'm just going to do this one though. So to make the leading coefficient in both of these cases a 1, I'm going to divide the left and right by 2. In other words, I'm going to divide each term by 2. Again, because we're dividing by a monomial, we can split it apart this way. In other words, because we're dividing by one term, we can split it the way that we did, right? Okay. So that's going to cancel. That cancels. This turns this into an 8, and this is 0, right? Okay, so let's account for those changes. So then we have x squared plus y squared plus 8y equals 0, right? So we're trying to get it to the standard form of the equation of a circle. So we can actually rewrite this x as, because there's no other x terms, we could say x minus 0 squared, right? Remember, the goal is to get it to the form x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, right? So now we can see that our h is 0. And then with these y's, let's do this in this color. So we can do completing the square here. Okay, if we do the completing the square step with a y, completing the square is going to be, we got to say b over 2 squared and add that to both sides. B over 2 squared, and we're adding that to both sides, right? So our b in this case is going to be 8, so we're going to say 8 divided by 2 squared. We're adding that to both sides. Okay? So 8 divided by 2 is 4, squared is going to be 16, all right? So this y squared comes down, this 8y comes down. And so really, when we did completing the square, we really added 16 to both sides, all right? So we get a 16 over here. Okay. So now in this form, we can factor the orange and the purple, right? We should be able to factor them into something of this form. We're going to have y plus, I think it's 4. Let's be consistent. 4. And that's going to be squared. And then everything else can just come down. Notice that 16 is 4 squared. Again, 16 is 4 squared. And the x just comes down. Okay. So, in this form, we can see that our h is 0, our k is actually -4, and our r is 4, all right? So the center of the circle should be 0, -4 with the radius of 4, okay? I'm not going to check it. I'm going to leave it. If one of my students, like if this is wrong and one of my students finds the error and brings it to my attention, I offer extra credit for finding errors in my videos, okay? Let's see. So the question says find the center of the radius and then find the x and y intercepts. Okay. So this was part A. And then for the x and y intercept, so for part B, again, I'm going to pull the equation of the circle that we have. We have this x minus 0 squared. Let me think about it, because we divided out that 2. I think this is fine. I'm just going to go with it. It might be, maybe dividing the 2, we might need to have factored that 2, but I'm just going to go with this one right now. Y plus 4 squared equals 4 squared, okay? So usually I like to start with the y-intercept first. Oftentimes that's easier. Now actually, if we do it, so for the y-intercept, we set x equal to 0. And solve. Okay. If we set x equal to 0 and solve, what we're going to have, so if x is equal to 0, that first term is gone, it goes to 0, so it's completely gone. Then we're going to have y plus 4 squared equals 16. All right. So at this stage, we can actually take the square root on both sides. Square root and square root. This symbol cancels this one. And whenever we do square root, we have to do plus or minus. All right. So on the left we get y plus 4. On the right, we get plus or minus 4. So then ultimately, y is going to be equal to negative 4 plus or minus 4. So then the y-intercepts are going to be 0, negative 8. And the other one is 0, 0, which is the origin. Okay, notice there's also going to be our x-intercept. Let's go ahead and do the x-intercept. So again, to find the x-intercept, again, we set, here we're going to set y equal to 0 and solve. In the previous one, we set x equal to 0 and solved. Okay? Yeah, that's fine. Set y to 0 and solve. Okay? So then what we're going to get, we're going to have x squared plus 4 squared equals 4 squared. So then ultimately we get x squared equals 0, x equals 0. All right? So then the x-intercept is again the origin. All right? Okay. So we have our y-intercepts here. And we have our x-intercept here. Why does it keep doing that? Okay. So hopefully, let me go like this so you can see the whole thing at once. So parts A and B. Again, I'm not going to check these. I'm just going to trust that my math is correct. Yeah. Okay. So what's the center? We have our order here. And then we have our radius, okay? And so on that note, we're going to end the session here. And from one beautiful mind to another, enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.